Hey guys, welcome back. True Coach here, where we don't trust, we verify, and operate with integrity and transparency. Today I got a clip from Christopher Green. I don't actually know who this guy is. He's been around for a while, but it just showed up on my feed and I watched it and did a little research on him just to go back and watch some of his other videos. He's got some spicy takes. This one in particular, I don't have, again, the acumen to dig into all this stuff going on. But as I've always said on my channel, man, like the truth is in the middle. There's a left side, right side, truth's in the middle. And there is way too many big moves being made. A lot of clickbait headlines, I guess you could say, to try to get polarizing opinions, people out in the streets upset about one thing or the other. It's like, well, whenever that happens, it's like the magician. Whenever they say look over here, you should look the other direction because it's classic misdirection, especially when all the news medias are reporting on it and things of that nature, right? So I, again, don't know what's going on with China and potential escalations, geopolitical tensions, blah, blah, blah. All I really focus on is, do I have the soundest money available? And am I stacking that? And am I trying to set my future self up? That's kind of it. Everything else is noise, as Ralph Powell said. 95% of the stock market is based off liquidity and 90% of crypto or vice versa. But anyway, 9 out of 10 times, liquidity moves up, Bitcoin goes up. Like, that's what you really need to focus on. But let's listen to this clip from Christopher Green, and I want to get you guys' take, and I'll give some commentary along the way as well.
All right, this is breaking news. You heard it here first. It all has finally made sense to me. I can't believe I didn't think about this before, but the reason gold and silver prices are skyrocketing to new all-time highs is they're about to do what I predicted years ago. Watch the video on X. I told you that Trump was secretly replacing the U.S. Federal Reserve System, and they were going to reprice Fort Knox gold and silver reserves to buy all the existing liabilities. Crypto, reset us into the stablecoin system, etc. Move into tokenization, is BlackRock is now telling all of us. And so basically, if you didn't understand what I just said, what they're doing is intentionally pumping, Wall Street is, the central banks, gold and silver prices to new record highs. Gold just hit $30 trillion plus. That's massive. That doesn't happen by accident. And the reason they're doing that is they're going to need higher priced gold, higher priced silver to offset.
I'll pause it there because I think it's buffering. I got bad Wi-Fi out here. But this is very similar to what Jack Mallers said. So he was always saying they're going to debase the dollar, and debase the dollar against what? And gold and Bitcoin. So there is definitely some truth to that when you come check out top assets by market cap. Clearly, gold is on a rally. Silver is now number 6, and it's bumped Bitcoin down. Like, silver just took a massive run up and went down whenever I did this day. But it's interesting just to see all these different things rallying, and you have to ask yourself, well, who is buying all of this at this moment? Well, let's just do a simple search, and we get the biggest buyers of gold and silver in the last few months have been China and India, driven by central bank purchases, industrial jewelry demand, and hedge against currency volatility. So that's definitely more the reason. I doubt people all of a sudden like, I want some nice jewelry. That's not the case, right? Gold didn't just rally. I forgot how much percentage points it's up this year alone, but that tells you right there, central banks and industrial retail. So silver is definitely used in a lot more production things, but it has always also been, if you listen to Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, he's a big gold, silver, Bitcoin, and bullets kind of guy. So the point being, the writing is on the wall. All these countries have been active purchasers, and that's because, like I showed you that video from, I forgot the guy's name, but he's like Putin's right-hand man when it comes to like macroeconomics, treasury kind of thing. And he said that the U.S. is going to basically throw everything into the digital void and reset the debt. There's some truth to that. So the writing is on the wall, and multiple different people, central banks, are talking about it. So there is some credibility to how he's phrasing this. Now, as far as Litecoin and XRP, I don't know about all that, but he's a big. If you go on his channel, you'll see a bunch of Litecoin posts about that. I know diddly squat about Litecoin. I'm basically a Bitcoin bull at this stage, and some other alts that I'm just waiting to get rid of and go back into Bitcoin. So I cannot speak on that, but definitely you can clearly just see here in the market cap that these things are rallying. That makes some common sense. Let's finish the rest of this.
Ethereum cryptocurrencies is they send that to decatrillions itself. So if you think about it just like mathematically or just, really common sense, they're going to pump one asset up to buy the other asset cheap, then reset the system and use the stable coins that they printed 300 trillion yesterday, not by accident. PayPal. The PayPal mafia does not print 300 trillion, double the economic GDP of the entire planet overnight on accident. I mean, Peter Thiel freaking founded PayPal. All these guys are PayPal. Elon Musk founded PayPal. That's not an accident. So they're running these tests, shock and awe, which is why they ran the liquidity event recently.
Now, maybe you missed that because it didn't get a lot of attention, but this is why I started the video out with like, look behind the curtain. They tell you look over here, look over there at the opposite side, because it's interesting. These things all happen at the same time. So like what he's getting ready to move into with the tariff and then the liquidity event, but we'll cover that after this. But here's what happened on October 15th. Read the headline first. PayPal crypto partner accidentally mints stablecoins worth double the world's total GDP. Paxos undersells 300 trillion stablecoin incident as an internal technical error. So meaning they made 300 trillion stablecoins out of thin air, and they're like, oops, it was just an internal technical error, or basically a fat finger. Like that would be the layman's terms. This guy added 12 zeros on accident. So if you're not familiar with Paxos, they have the gold-backed stablecoin, or like a digital gold variant that's supposed to be backed by gold. Yeah, digital gold. They were, I believe they were the same ones that were behind BUSD on Binance. Was it Paxos? Point is, they're familiar with the stablecoin game, right? And like you said, they operate on PayPal. PayPal has been in the game for a long time, providing payment rails globally. So here's what they state. A hair-raising case in point hitting the news wires today is provided by PayPal's crypto partner, Paxos, which accidentally minted 300 trillion a few hours ago. This so-called stablecoin is said to be fully backed by the US dollar deposits, US treasuries, and similar cash equivalents. Despite that pledge, there is no way that such a gargantuan sum was backed by anyone or anything, as it is roughly equivalent to more than double the world's estimated total GDP. So remember, in order for stablecoins to be minted, they are indeed minted. It's whenever the company that is minting them locks away or purchases the necessary amount of US Treasury short duration debt, meaning it can very quickly be turned back into real dollars or the digital dollar equivalent, not stable. So in order to mint these stable coins, you have to lock up or purchase the underlying liquidity asset, treasuries or cash equivalents. Well, if they minted, quote unquote, accidentally 300 trillion, the entire stablecoin market is only 300 billion. So we can say you might fat finger 3 additional zeros. You were trying to mint 300 billion and not 300 trillion. Okay, fine. But why in the hell are you minting 300 billion in the first place? Like, did you buy 300 billion worth of treasuries? Nobody announced that. We didn't see that. Where did that come from? And even 3 billion could be more realistic that you would have to print, but that's still a fat finger 5 additional zeros. So there's definitely something afoot here that you'd have to ask yourself why that took place. And then why did it take 20 minutes to fix? Like, seriously? You had twice the world's GDP in stablecoins minted and nobody noticed for 20 minutes? Strange. Very strange. That's all I can say. Very strange. Now, what he's also talking about is that next thing, which I've covered multiple times. There have been plenty of clickbait, doom and gloom headlines about what happened with Bitcoin. But as of right now, we have already bounced back above, I think, 108. Yeah, we were at 109 briefly before I started this video. So we got all the way down to 104, 103. And remember, nothing fundamentally changed against Bitcoin. Bitcoin was still open source, decentralized, secure, protocol bounded by energy. The thing that changed was a bunch of degens got over their skis and tried to get rich quick and had way too much leverage in the system. So as Raul Powell says, don't use leverage. Leverage, liquor, and ladies. Those three things to quickly fuck up your life, right? So nothing changed. We went down. Everybody started screaming for the hills. The sky is falling, Chicken Little. And even the fear and greed index fell all the way down to like 25 at a low. And ironically, like the year low, when we dropped down into the 70s, was 15 and 19. So like we were, getting close. And people forgot just 6 months ago, Bitcoin was down at 80K, 70, 82K, and 89K, 86K. We got to the 70s because I got some cheap Bitcoin there, 78 somewhere. Yeah, right there, 78K. So 6 months ago, we were 78. All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, October's here. I'm going to go 100x max long. Well, they got liquidated. So tough shit. So the reason I bring that up is because that event happened, and then this 300 trillion was minted. Very strange. So you got tariff news, but before the tariff news was Binance stating a week prior to that there was a flaw in the liquidity pair that they were going to fix. So that's a week early. They state that. Then the day of the tariff announcement, before the announcement, you have this event that triggers this, basically flooding the market with, or what do you call that? Breaking that pair, that USDE stablecoin pair on Dina, I believe. Then you have tariffs. Then you have all these shorts or longs getting liquidated. Then that gets fixed. Trump puts out a tweet and says, we're going to be friends with China. We're going to try to fix things. Then 2 days later, you have taxes of $300 trillion. Like, that's just a lot of weird things happening in a 1 week, 2 day time span. I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but again, look behind the scenes. That's all I can really say.
So they're running these tests, shock and awe, which is why they ran the liquidity event recently with Binance and all the exchanges. And we saw the huge drawdown in altcoins because they're lubricating the system. They're checking on stablecoins, parity, stability, all those kinds of things, flushing out leverage longs. And then, like I've predicted, watch the video on X. It is titled, I just posted it again, already had like 1 million views months ago. I was in my green Lamborghini, titled, Breaking Trump has secretly replaced the U.S. Federal Reserve, giant shocks ahead, where I explain.
And that part was like a little subtle drop. I've got 1 million views and I was in my green Lamborghini. So that's why I said I don't know nothing about this guy, but it's just very interesting to hear his commentary for the first time. But the stuff he's talking about, you can go out and check the stats yourself. So I'm just bringing you guys the receipts. You can do your own due diligence. The TLDR is just stay humble, stack sats. Like, I did not flinch at this market dip. I actually had some buy orders filled. I'm excited. I still dollar cost average $100 a day into Bitcoin. So it's like, I don't really care. I know the inevitable is Bitcoin's going up and to the right. So this didn't really bother me, but it is interesting to see, again, what Jack Mallers has said, Rao Powell, Jeff Booth, all these guys are all saying different pieces of the same thing. And then even here, Christopher Green talking about they're going to debase the dollar against, and his basket of goods, XRP, Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Don't know, but I definitely co-signed the Bitcoin part. So we'll see.
That was the optics around Fort Knox. Remember how they said they were going to audit it? Yet they did. They just didn't tell us about it. Okay, so now they're repricing those reserves and they're going to use it to buy cheaper Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP. This is going to be the biggest economic financial event in world history, like what we saw with FTR with his executive action. I expect massive shocks, the financial markets to close, bank runs, the regional banks are going down. I don't know if you saw that today.
I do believe, and I put this in my chats, that the repricing of gold is indeed coming, and driving the price of gold up before they reprice it makes a lot of sense. If your gold on the balance sheets is at, what is it, $42 an ounce, and then you can drive gold. How much has gold rallied this year? Let's see. Wow, look at that. Up 61% year to date. So it started the year at $2,639 and it's up to $4,267. Doing some simple math, because the US owns 261.5 million troy ounces, supposedly. Remember, we never got the audit, or according to Christopher Green, we did. But let's just use that book value because that's what everybody thinks we have. 261.5 million. And at the earlier year-to-date price in January, that's 690 billion. So let's take that back out, divided by 2,639. There's the 261.5 million troy ounces that they own. Let's multiply it by the current spot price. Let's go by the all-time high, which was 4,300, if I'm not mistaken, just to make that easy. 690 million, 4,300. They have doubled. They have literally just created $600 billion out of thin air. I mean, by jacking up the price, right? So let's, again, like you said, kind of put on your conspiracy hat and think about that. If they can jack the price of gold up, jack the price of silver up, and then drop the price of Bitcoin so they can buy Bitcoin, and then let everybody know, hey, we also absorbed MicroStrategy or whatever. We now have 1 million Bitcoin on the books. What does that then do to other central banks? Like we already saw when I already moved it out of the way, but other central banks are buying gold. So if all of a sudden the US absorbs MicroStrategy or says they're buying Bitcoin or revalues the gold to buy whatever, some kind of catalyst to move things in that direction, what does that tell central banks? It says, hey, the US is also stacking Bitcoin and we better play catch up. And then boom, the price of Bitcoin rips. Not to mention, we still have the new Fed chair coming in next year. There's like a lot of like I said, a lot of things moving behind the scenes that isolated, they may not make any sense. When you put them all together, it's kind of hard to go ignore it and just look the other way, in my humble opinion. So that's why I just stay humble, stack sats, because really, again, like Rao Powell said, nothing else matters. It's all noise. So let's finish this clip from him. If you had anything else to say, that I wanted to cover. Let's see. It's got another minute left.
JP Morgan Chase just incurred a 200 million roughly cockroach debt implosion on a faulty loan that they took with Tricolor, and that's just the beginning. Jamie Dimon's calling it cockroaches. This is the same guy that did business with Jeffrey Epstein, so he knows what's up. He's the same guy that got all the multi-trillion dollar bailouts from you U.S. taxpayers. So this is going down now, guys. Did you hear what I said? Rewatch this video. They're pumping gold. This is an institutional move, not retail. Retail's not pumping gold plus 30 trillion. No, this is a short-term pump. Once they have that new capital that they've created by moving the water to the other side of the system, gold, silver, precious bullion, metals, etc., they're going to use that to reprice and reset us into the stablecoin networks and this new system, Bitcoin, crypto, Litecoin, Ethereum, XRP, that I predicted.
Well, I guess we will see indeed. Gold sitting at 4,300 roughly today. I have no idea if this is coming, but to me, the writing is on the wall that something like this is coming. I still believe they will reprice gold, and I believe they will actually buy Bitcoin. Trump and his administration still has another 3 years to get that done. So a lot can happen in 3 years. We'll see though. But the TLDR, stay humble, stack sats, smash that HPL special, help a brother out, like, subscribe, comment down below. And until next time, live daily and achieve your impossible.